Welcome everyone to this UX Lead Meetup, 3 approaches to setting up a UX competence. We have 3 speakers tonight, Marleen Schut of ASML, Serena Dorestein of Brightcape, and Lodo from Hike One. We have very nice different topics, talking about UX from different approaches. And together with Matthijs, I will make sure that this is going to be hosted well and we will facilitate all the questions. I'm from Brightcape and working there as a DataX consultant, and we'll make sure you have a wonderful, inspirational evening. Matthijs, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you for the intro. Yeah, welcome from my side to the meetup. My name is Matthijs. I'm the founder of Hike One of the organizing companies. I didn't do anything to make this happen except being here. So all the credits go to Kalina and Lindsay for setting this up. I will explain what the plan is for this evening. I'll announce the different speakers. I'll keep track of time because we have 1.5 hours. I want to stick with that, and I lead the panel discussion in the end. First, I'd like to say that this session is being recorded, but we're actually recording only the speakers and the slides, so not individual people, and also there will be not a lot of interaction with the public except for the chat that we're going to use to get all the questions. So that's what I wanted to say. Yes, I've been in user experience for quite a while, 23 years I calculated, so that's quite a lot. And I maybe don't do as much design lately as I would like to, but I'm actually curious how much years you have experience in UX. So I'm launching a little poll here, so you can look at that and quickly fill in the applicable option for you. Well, okay, there's one more with 15+ years, 2 to 5, 5 to 10. No real rookies in the room. I see, especially 2 to 5 years, going fast. Nice. All right. Have a good idea of who's in the meetup. Nice. All right, so yeah, let's try to get to know each other a little bit better and also try to figure out how the chat works. I'm going to use it for asking questions to the different speakers. So let's share something of our environment. We're talking about UX environment, but let's take it a little bit more personal. So say, let's all share something about the environment you're in right now. That can be the attic or a room in the house or a bedroom, or maybe in your company, I don't know. And then I'd like to know what company you are working for, and also what your relationship is with UX. And let's also add the place where you are, so the city or the village where you're currently in. I give my example over here. So I'm in the second smallest room in the house. I'm in Scheveningen at the moment. I work for Hike One. I'm UX veteran. So what are you? Just share your answers in the chat, and so we can have a little speak into who's joining. Let's see what people come up with. Yeah, and the poll is finished, and 2 to 5 years is definitely the number of years with most people here with UX design experience. Great. All right, so we are people from, oh no, they're dropping really fast. Let me see what we have here. All right, competence lead, Groningen, Eindhoven, attic with kids, interesting, Vleuten. Okay, I'm from the Meren, so that's really close. Eindhoven, more Brabant, lots of Brabant. Study portals also. Nice. Venlo, okay, great. So that's a lot of Brabant and even further out. Nice. Any international? Dongen, no, nice. Tilburg. Zoetermeer, it's nearby me. Okay, great to see. Rotterdam, nice. All right. So the schedule will be introduction. That's right now. Try to finish up in maybe less than a minute. Then we have the first speaker, Marleen Schut from ASML. Then we have 20 minutes later, Lodo from Hike One. And then we have Serena from Bright Cape. And then we have the panel discussion. So we have three times 20 minutes. We don't have any breaks. We're not going to do questions in between. So if you have a question, put it in the chat and put the first name of the person. So that's Lodo or Marleen or Serena, and then add your question there. And then Lindsay will look at the chat and gather the questions and pass them on through me in the last part of this session. So yeah, let's go on with the first speaker, which is Marleen Schut from ASML. And I think we all know ASML as a big company, international, doing something with chip making machines, really interesting. And I always wonder, what do they do with UX? And I think you all do that. So I think that's what your talk is also about. Really interesting to see what ASML is doing there. So the floor is yours, Marleen. And yeah, put your timer on 20 minutes and then let us know how what's happening there.
Yeah, thank you, Matthijs. I hope you can all see me. I think I need to click away this part, right? Do you see that or not? No. Or do you only see my screen?
I think it's fine. I see the whole deck, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, so good. Let's quickly move forward. So this is about improving user-centered design in a tech-driven company. Let's see, how do I click through? Yeah. So I just wanted to do a little bit of an introduction of myself, show a little bit where I work within ASML. It's a large company, of course. The UX challenges that we have and how we do UX design in this business line, the place where I'm in. And then the role of UX research in the transformation to design thinking. Started already a while ago studying cognitive science in Nijmegen, graduated at Philips TV at that moment, and stayed there for a while, actually for 9 years. And after 9 years, I got a challenge within ASML to start a competence there, to start a UX competence there. And I'm already more than 5 years doing that. So that's what we're talking about today. This business line, what I was speaking about, so this is an infographic about ASML. We have a lot of supporting sectors, and we have business lines, our EUV systems, which are the newest chip machines. We have the deep UV systems, which are also chip machines, and we have applications. So what do we do within applications? So basically, there's a lot of terminology here. I won't say them all, but it's about making software solutions for the lithography business, so that the chip makers, which are our customers, can print exactly what they want to print. And how does that work a little bit? So then you have a little bit of a context. And so basically, I'm always saying, imagine this is a fab, a factory for our customer, and each time that they want to print chips, they start with a wafer. That's kind of a very big CD without a hole in the middle. That's entered inside the ASML scanner. So we know what is going in, we know what is going to be printed, and we know, because of a metrology machine, we can measure what is getting out of there. But then this wafer is going through a black box. So third-party machines that are taking other lithography steps. So what do? We can measure after that black box, and all of that information we put into a big database. So based on that, we know what's coming in, we know what is coming out, and anything that is being different than, so what from what came in, so different from what's coming out, we can basically try to model for and therefore also correct. That means then that you can give those corrections to the scanner even before the errors are being made, which is a very great idea and it works very nice. But of course, our customers are always also saying like, hey, that's interesting, but what is happening here is is to me not transparent enough. So please give me some insight. And that's where basically we come in. And so we create these kind of UIs in which we give access to the information that is in this database, and we give our customers the opportunity to also tweak what is getting out of that database, so they can also make their own corrections. So basically, that's a large part of what we're doing within our UX competency. And another part that we're doing is setting up these metrology machines. So we also need UIs for that. So that's a little bit of a background of where we work. And of course, that comes with challenges. So before I've worked at a consumer electronics company, Philips TV, and later the lighting department, of which we always had like targeted people, and we had plenty of access there. And now I came within ASML, where I saw that we had a lot of variables. We have 118 nationalities, we have 16 countries in which our users reside. They're both internal ASML users as well as customer users. But on the other hand, it's also per customer, not a lot of people that we have access to. So you need to deal with a lot of variables, but you cannot test all those variables always in the extent that you would like to. Next to that, a challenge that we have is that actually we're doing really great. So these are just numbers that I took from our website from last quarters. And what do you do in a company in which people are really convinced that we're doing great because our customer is buying our stuff, but on the other hand, they have complaints about usability. So maybe you can even see on the screens here, it's a lot of different stuff that we give to our customers. It's also usability wise, we can really step up there. But how do you make that clear when money is actually just coming in? So one of the things, of course, is that we need to really address the pain of our customers. I'll talk a little bit about that later. So with whom are we doing this? We have about 20 UX designers. We're actually growing in the coming year. We have 4 teams and 2 locations. So you can see we're in the US and we're here in Veldhoven. We have people with backgrounds in industrial design, communication and multimedia design, art school, one even from aerospace engineering, human technology interaction. So most of us have backgrounds in design educations. And maybe another thing that is interesting to mention is our designer-developer ratio currently is 1 in about 150. So 1 designer for 150 developers. Something I'd like to improve, as you can imagine. Given these challenges, given the fact that the company, and not everyone in the company is already feeling that pain of the customer, but also given the fact that management knows that we need to change, how do we need to change them? So last year we worked hard on our shared dream, and also to really get that living inside this company, and that dream is a user-centered organization. So really moving towards an organization in which users are central to any decision made, in which it is also quite new. At least what I'm always telling to our management, it's not just hiring a designer who's going to do user-centered design, but it's about all those people in the project. Everyone who's making decisions about this product basically needs to be able to make decisions with this user in mind. And you should do this together. Well, starting 5 years ago, 5+ years ago, it was really, I noticed it's a roller coaster. I started as the only designer. And of course, quite quickly, I already noticed, well, being the only designer, having so many developers to serve, we need to hire more designers. So we hired interaction designers to help out. That made that we could make a UX team, and our first implementation of our first UI design was implemented, which was of course a very big thing to get happening. However, it was difficult. So the first things were being implemented, but there was no follow-up. We had designers that quit because it was different than they expected, or it was more hard than they expected. We also had to design blindly, so meaning that we didn't have access to the customers, which was really difficult. We only had influence at team level. So you can imagine there were developers and Scrum teams, and we had very good contact there. But anyone who really had a decision in this product, we didn't have a lot of contact with yet. So what did we do? The closest to our customers was our customer support organization. So we really started to cooperate with them and gathering information via them. Then we also learned that also they are a large part of the users, which we often forget. Designers even started to travel to customers. So once we got to know customer support engineers, they started to invite us to their travels, and then slowly we could even talk to our customers, and we started to influence at architect level. And so that was already a step up in our influence model. So that was all very great, and then we started UX research. So first we had to kind of build this team, make sure that that people were interested, believed that we could add some benefit and or add some value. And then we said, well, we should do this more structurally. So do research, and then people started to manage UX. So it's kind of, on the one hand, it's a good thing. On the other hand, it's a very difficult thing because they were still not understanding UX, but they were trying to manage it in their way. So we had to find a way to bend that into a way that they really started to understand and started to help UX rather than to manage it. So that's okay, so UX can't do magic. So that's something that we really needed to make our organization understand. It's not just like, okay, dear UXer, paint something and magically our customers will be very happy. It's actual work and everyone needs to help with that. So what did we do? We started a whole program around introducing design thinking. Currently we are running 2 pilots and really getting involvement from our management up to our vice president, who is now really interested, involved, and encouraging us to define this way of working in order to be able to scale it throughout the whole business line. So that's the latest information I have, and I'm really, really happy with that. So it has been a 5-year roller coaster, and I think we're at this peak. I actually hope that we don't go through this loop, but that from now on we're really slowly going, or maybe even fast going up. And in order to do so, we made a plan. So you can see 2015, when I started, we were asked to only do stuff in the Scrum teams that were implementing things, and then we could tweak here and there. Slowly we could move towards making prototypes and test them before they were implemented, but still that was designing blindly. And then we said, well, we should do research, and research really means being there already at the start, understanding. So we could be there at the start, but then still we were involved. We were not involved in the scoping phase, but we were involved late at the moment that actually most of the ideas were done already. So there was a bit of a gap. But the 2 pilot projects that I was speaking about in the previous slide, they really made sure that we could go through this whole process from left to right, and then provided of course that the iteration still needs to happen, of course. So how did we do that? Let's see. I quickly click through this. So we started actually here at the end, focusing on usability testing, building a business case in order to be able to focus on this capturing information upfront. So and being close to the start of projects and to the start of this new product development. And then we closed this gap of this ideation and being there after the scope definition has been done. Important to show is that in this part we really focus on multidisciplinary concept creation and involving the stakeholders. So that's the last phase that we're currently in. While of course here we're really setting up this feedback loop, focusing on structural usability testing, create testable KPIs so that someone is also able to manage those KPIs. So what does that mean? I took this picture. This is a kind of a lightly translation from the Nielsen-Norman maturity model for UX in companies. We have several levels. So we have a team, we have a product, we have a portfolio, a business line, and then of course corporate. And what we've said, like I said, before 2019, we were only residing in the team. They expected 360 degrees designers. We should be able to do everything. And currently we're at the point where we can show that UX is a science, not magic or an opinion. We have interaction designers, information architects, and a UX researcher, and we have an interface with the system design team. And our goal for next year is that UX becomes a business partner, so that we really can do strategic product design and have an interface with the program and the product teams. And of course, then after that, we would like to have a director of UX, someone in the business line staff. So that's our end goal, because we said in a technology company like ASML, it's a bridge too far to say that we should have a chief design officer in the board of management. But I do hope that we do have some time that we do get an executive VP champion that at least understands and knows UX. I think based on this, I created a poll. So let me start on that. UX represents in the company. I'm really interested to see whom of you where UX is resided in your company. And I think it's good that I'll click it away right now. You can just enter it, and then at the end of all the presentations, we'll come back to the results of this. Hope that works. So let me move further. And so next activities that we have is we are growing the team, like I said. So that's a really positive thing. Scale this way of working. So since we have more people, we can also use them to scale it in more projects, and keep improving this feedback loop. So making sure that we keep building our knowledge and that we keep improving UX based on data. And that's also how we call it right now, data-driven customer experience management. So that we're moving away from this magic and opinion kind of way. And this is basically my last slide. So what I learned in the past few years, as entering from a very user, customer, human-centered company who is really who's having a chief design officer basically, so that's like Philips, going to a company where all of this is in a very early phase of maturity. I really had to go through a few steps, and I think the first one was really to find an executive supporter. When I started, I had one. He moved to the board, and then suddenly I didn't have an executive supporter anymore because he couldn't deal with the business line that I was in anymore. So that took a while, and I can really see that since we have this VP again, that things are flying again. And the next thing was understanding the company culture, understanding how things go, what the current processes are, and how you can really add to that rather than trying to do your own process and try to make them change. And so adding to that really helps and makes also, at least what I see, is makes people very enthusiastic in accepting this change. Start measuring customer feedback as soon as possible because it helps building your business case. So making sure that you understand the pain of your customer and that you can, or of your users, and that you can also show that pain and make that clear in either money or other types of value for your company. So within ASML, money wasn't the thing. But nanometers and speed was really the thing. So that I really had to learn. Hire people that are better than you. I once had a manager who said, like, do you dare to hire that person? She might be very good. And I said, well, I think that's the best thing that we can have. So we have people in our team that are slightly different than I am. And in those areas, they are better than I am. And that really helps in, as a team, we are better than when we are alone. And you can really see that snowballing effect. Invest in change management skills and hire people that like to be change agents. Like I said, we've had some people leaving the company because they found it difficult to be a change agent. So they like to be a good designer, but they didn't like to convince people that design was important. And of course, that makes sure that that's difficult because then your team becomes unstable. Next to that, build a strong network. It's a large company. You can always find people that are the early adopters. And I really focused on those early adopters. But also now the early adopters are there. The network is even growing more. There are people that are now also able to adopt. And you can move further with your, what do you say, evangelism almost. And take management along in your journey. It took really a lot of time to get that happening because of different company culture, because of also hardware versus software, people, all kinds of reasons. It took me a while to find a way to be able to take them along, but since they now stepped on board and I can really find the triggers with them, I can see it flying. So that helps. So like I said, this was my last slide. So I think it's back to you again, Martijn.
Yeah, thank you. Great. Thanks for the presentation. The poll results are in. We're going to look at that later. Some questions are dropping in as well. I want to mention that, but I think people found it now. There's enough already to discuss for you after the last presentation. So let's go right on to the next one, which is Lodovico from Hike One. He is designer at Hike One and a lot of things more, and I think he'll explain himself what he does. Yeah, Lodo, are you here?
I'm here, and
yeah?
yes, I will explain more.
Okay, great.
Let me just click on that magic button, share. I'm going to do the cliche thing. Does everyone see my screen? Thumbs up. Nice. Then, welcome. I'm here to talk about leveling up your UX maturity as a catalyst for change. My name is Lodovico, and I am, like Matthijs said, a UX UI designer at Hike One. But I do a lot of other things. I am a facilitator, an illustrator, design sprinter, UX researcher, recruitment lead, employer brand designer, etc., etc., etc. Because at Hike One, we do Holacracy, which is a self-organizing way to get yourself to do fun things and keep yourself busy with. Like I said, I'm here on behalf of Hike One, a digital product design agency, where we design digital experiences that people absolutely love. Or at least that's what we tell ourselves. I like to believe it. We achieve this by running design sprints, utilizing our expertise in UX and UI, and sharing our knowledge over the latest tools and methods through our own academy. You may have seen and used some of our work via projects we've done for clients such as Philips Hue, Fonda, and Liberty Global, just to name a few. But why are we here? And what are you going to expect from this talk? From my talk, you're going to get my perspective as a UX UI designer on UX maturity, the steps to go about leveling up your own company's level of maturity, and how a design agency such as Hike One can help play a role in this. So, UX maturity, what is it? Why do we even need it? For me, UX maturity is basically the gradual growth of having a user focus at the forefront of strategic decisions. But why? We understand why designers need to be user-focused, but why is this a necessity for others and companies as a whole? Basically, being mature in your UX process enables you to constantly be up to date and understand what your users' desires and needs are. This in turn allows you to react to market changes quickly and effectively, staying relevant and innovative, and most importantly, increase your impact and understanding you have with users that use your product. So if this sounds like you and your company for where you are, then hell yeah, bravo. Let's just skip to level 3. Level 3? Lodo, what do I mean by level 3? Well, a company's growth and its UX maturity doesn't all happen at once, kind of like how we go from being a baby to an adult. We have to slowly grow into it. This growth has distinct milestones that we call levels of UX maturity that a company experiences. But to kind of give you guys a metaphor to kind of work with, let's see this as a pyramid. The bottom layers of the pyramid consist of the biggest blocks. These take a huge amount of effort to set into place, however, are key to laying the foundation for further growth. Whereas the top of the pyramid is definitely the cherry on the cake. However, you can't get here until you build all the levels below, and this in itself takes time, otherwise your pyramid will crumble. So if maturing of your UX process is like a pyramid, then it can be concluded that this takes time and effort to complete. One of these we can directly affect with our actions, while the other is a commitment. So what are these levels of UX maturity? So level 1 is a total lack or awareness that UX even exists, which levels to say that the user needs are either not in scope or simply unknown. If you're at this level, you'll hear statements like, who is the UX designer? And we don't even have time for design. Crazy things to say. Level 2, the on-demand experience. It can feel as if the user UX focus is treated as simply a phase in a project rather than as a sustained endeavor. What you hear here is that we need designs for these screens. We don't have time for exploration. We need validation ASAP. Or my favorite, we need some UX here. Level 3, the isolated UX project. Here, the door is beginning to crack open, but key stakeholders and departments are still hesitant to fully get involved in the UX processes or see the potential of its impact overall. Here, you'll see them say, our designers say that our users are saying this about our product. This is close, but the stakeholders themselves are still not hearing the users' needs for themselves and only from secondary users. We're almost there. Level 4, we call this the growing business of UX. At this level, we see the user focus to start to play an important role into how decisions within teams are being made. This is the tipping point. This is where you start to really grow into your own. You will hear stakeholders begin to say more and more that we need to talk to and understand our users, meaning you're changing from viewing your users as a step in the process to instead being a valuable resource of insight and data. Level 5, UX as a strategic weapon. Here, the user focus happens earlier and earlier in the process, and we see cycles of iterative design and research processes begin to take place. Having a user focus now becomes a weapon in creating impact in what the team is understanding its user insights and utilizing them to create future plans and decisions. What you'll hear here is you'll see a change from we need to talk to our users to more of a we need to understand our users first before we even begin to build anything. So again, beginning to move that user earlier and earlier on into the process. And lastly, level 6, the integrated UX culture. Here, a user focus is integrated throughout your company and is an integral part in your strategic planning and decisions. And if you're here, you probably won't hear this because you'll just know it, but you will hear that all the disciplines are working collaboratively together to integrate their needs with the users in developing the roadmap strategy for the company's product. A large mouthful, but basically meaning user focus is everywhere. So if you're at level 6, then hell yeah, way to go. So Matthijs, can you share the poll? I'm curious to find out where you guys find yourself on the pyramid. Here's a little cheat sheet to get you to figure out where you are. I'm curious.
Wait. Relaunch poll. Continue. Yes, does it work now?
Cool. So I'll give you a few seconds. I see answers coming in, but I have a tight deadline of 20 minutes. So just throw it in there. And also in the chat, if you want, put the level for which you believe your company is experiencing and how do you think you would level up to the next level? Oh, completely. Yeah, so how do you level up to the next level? So if you're experiencing UX maturity at level 1 and you want to go to 2, cliche to say, but you need to have patience. Patience is key. If you're at level 1, it's going to be a journey. The first things you got to do is hire a design team, and then also be an advocate for the user at every moment is another. But also attending this meetup is definitely one way to level up to level 2. So going from level 2 to 3, document everything. You need people to start believing that having a user focus can be a strategic weapon. It all starts with building a body of work and then sharing this with everyone, because transparency is key. Some tools that you can use for documenting this body of work is Confluence for its universal way of working, Dovetail for its focus on UX research, and Airtable for its collaborative features. But these are only just a few tools. So again, in the chat, please type out any tools you can have so I can steal them and use them in my future projects. But also, a very important thing you can do is you need to take the stage whenever possible to increase your visibility. This includes stand-ups to give updates, roadmap sessions, any meetings where multidisciplinary people are gathering. Take the stage. And if there is no stage, don't wait to build one. Do a UX roadshow where you can showcase the UX team and explicitly state what they can do for the company and team. Make UX an item on their agenda. So 3 to 4, measuring improvements. Nice that everything is documented, but now you also need to show how all the user focus and endeavors are actually improving the product and experience. You need to make it believable. So how you can do this is by standardizing your processes to build uniformity in what you communicate to stakeholders and team members. The tested learning cards by Strategizer are a great way to make sure everyone within your team formulates their assumptions and learnings in the same manner. This kind of begins that alignment. And what is a real lifesaver is standardizing your research and testing processes so that you can truly get the most out of each insight users convey to you. There are plenty of resources online that you can use. HikeOne has theirs. You can find them on Medium. From 4 to 5, you need each other more than you know. Moving to here is going beyond just sharing your insights and data with your team from your users. And it's about getting them to take ownership as well. The easiest way to do that, and probably the most cliche, is to involve them in the process at the very beginning. Make their voice a key one in decision-making and plannings, because teamwork makes the user-focused dream work. 5 to 6. If you are here, then you're well on your way. And here it becomes about replicating and evangelizing your UX processes across all teams and departments within your company. The trick here is to tweak and innovate your process to integrate every stakeholder and department, because it's about transferring ownership over and having a user focus in all departments and stakeholders. So that was a large mouthful. So we'll now switch over to how a design agency can play a role in leveling up your company's UX processes and maturity. You can do this via 3 ways. At Hike One, we see that we can insert a role into your team, we can undertake a project, and we can do it through education. Inserting a role into your team, this can be a UX designer, a UI designer, UX researcher, prototyper, copywriter, UX lead, etc. But basically, this is a manner of using a design agency to mature your UX processes as a spark plug for within your teams. Basically, we become the missing gap within your team and help you get to where you want to go. At the bottom levels of the pyramid that we just talked about, this means that we're supporting teams that have missing gaps in necessary capabilities and roles that in turn can level up to the next level. While at the top of the levels of the pyramid, results just covered my meeting notes, but continuing, at the top level of the pyramid, inserting a role means that you're inserting a person that would then lead the process and growth of your UX team, such as a UX lead or Scrum Master. At Liberty Global, we were first inserted into the team as UX and UI designers to bring the topic of user needs more to the forefront of meetings. Eventually, over time, Liberty Global inserted us into roles of design leads and Scrum Masters to help set the foundation for user-focused processes within their company. Project UX is similar to the insertion of roles into your team, but basically on a steroid level. Rather than plug the missing capabilities within your team, you become a part of our team and processes. Project UX seeks to show you and get you to where you want to go, as well as show you the framework on how to get there. Using a design agency while within levels 3 to 5 helps transition your company from seeking user focus to delivering a user focus. The difference is very subtle. Furthermore, if your company is at the top of the maturity pyramid, in which you're an all-star already, then setting a design agency to work here can be an exercise in tweaking and innovating upon your own processes and going for those point on the horizon projects. At Unilever, we were tasked to stimulate the development of a platform that tackled oral hygiene in Southeast Asia. This was done through a project consisting of a design sprint, followed by an iterative design and build process that ultimately led to the creation of this platform. In the end, this platform was built and it was used as a resource for which Unilever could then continue to gather and use user feedback and insights, and of course, make future decisions upon. Lastly, a design agency can help mature your company's UX processes by strengthening your team capabilities, processes, and mindsets. Basically, we teach you and give you the tools to make your own plan to further mature your company UX processes. And a design agency can be initiated here at all levels of the pyramid. While the lower levels of pyramids is focused more on methodologies and tools to increase the structure and capabilities of your team. And at the upper levels, it's more to focus on the operational processes and how this can be made more transparent and uniform. At Nico, a smart home Belgian company that focuses on connecting their consumers digitally with their home energy usage, we were initially brought in as a UX project consisting of 2 design sprints. The goal here was to help them get answers to their assumptions and get in touch with their users. Overall, Nico in itself was rather mature in their UX processes. Whoa. However, they saw an opportunity to increase the skills and capabilities of their team members, and thus themselves became design sprint practitioners and facilitators through our UX Academy, resulting in them becoming more further integrated in a user focus in their processes and planning. So, I feel that was a lot to digest, but to wrap it up, here's a quick summary and some screenshot worthy slides. I'm not going to read it out for you, so I'll just give you a few seconds to screenshot. But again, the UX levels of the pyramid that a company matures in, how you level up between levels, very short summary. And lastly, how we as Hike One Design Agency can help a company level up through supporting gaps within a company's team, getting you to where you want to go, and of course, giving you the tools you need to level yourself up. That's all I have. Thanks for listening. If you want to connect, take your phone out, take a nice picture, connect with me, spam me on LinkedIn. The poll results are finished.
Yeah, they are.
Oh, I left the volume on my academy, but here's also a QR code to our academies if you want to have more information on how we can actually help you level up. But yeah, thank you very much.
All right, great. Thanks, Lodo. So the poll results are in. Do you want to say anything about that, or just
I didn't see them. Can you bring them up again?
Well, I see them.
Are they looking good?
They're looking good. There is the most are in the growing business of UX, like 10 people said that, and there's 2 in the integrated UX culture. So we have two persons on top of the pyramid here. So
okay, I don't want to answer questions from them.
yeah. And of course, there are a few questions for you as well. And there's a big discussion or a talk about the tooling that you gave. So that's interesting to go into as well. Maybe people have questions at Lodo about a few of these tooling. So put them in the chat, and then we can look at them and go through them in the last half hour of this session. Yep. But thanks, Lodo. I'm going to go over to the next speaker, which is Serena from Bright Cape.
Hola.
Hi. Getting ready. That's great.
Getting ready. Yeah.
So you did the DDEX into DDEX design, and that means data-driven experience design for people who don't know that.
Perfect.
Yeah, and I believe that is one part that Bright Cape does, right? They do a lot more. Probably you're going to go into that. So yeah, I'm curious. I didn't get a preview of your presentation, so it's also new for me. But yeah, I hope works out. I see your screen, so go ahead.
Perfect. Well, my name is Serena, and I'll be talking about yeah, what I learned at Bright Cape over the past almost 5 years. First off, yeah, integrating UX competence into a data science consulting, because Bright Cape, its core is data science and innovating with data science. So we had a bit of a challenge there in integrating UX, even though it fits perfectly. It was a bit of a struggle sometimes. Next to that, also innovating within the domain of UX. I will come back to that later because, as Matthijs also mentioned, we're calling it DDEX and not UX, and that is with a reason that I will come back to in a sec. And next to that, we're also innovating within UX in the niche of data science. So while UX in data science was already a challenge, we thought, let's make it even more complicated. And in this talk, I'm not going to like give you methodologies on how we do DDEX, or I will not bore you with how Bright Cape does its business. We're really awesome. Check us out if you want to know more. But what I really want to show and share with you is everything that I had to learn the hard way, how I failed and struggled sometimes, what I really liked about setting it up, what I didn't like about setting it up. And throughout the years, I've found that whichever innovation methodology you follow, or whatever methodology you use to set up your research, I always come across all these terms that I put here across the screen. And there are a lot, and I don't expect you to remember them, but I will go through them one by one and share with you what I learned here. Furthermore, what you really need to remember is that whatever you do, communication truly is key. It sounds cheesy and everyone says it. I think my mom used to say it all of the time when I was little, but it really, really, really is true. So I will also keep hammering on it. Communication is key, especially communication in the areas which are highlighted over here. And of course, these terms and the order and the process can differ based on the situation that you're in. However, I dare to say that you will encounter them when innovating with UX or innovating within a niche. Every step has multiple possibilities for blocks or complications in order to make your life more complicated. And sometimes you have to conclude that some ideas are not as exciting as you believe that they are. But most of all, don't forget to enjoy the ride, because setting up a team, setting up competence, learning from it, and innovating is one of the most exciting things that you can do within your job as a UXer, in my opinion. So who am I to conclude this and to share my insights with you? My name is Serena, a cognitive psychologist by schooling. And Uzi, I saw multiple Uzis in the chat, so hi. I'm a UX consultant at Bright Cape, and I am proud to call myself the founder of DDEX at Bright Cape. And next to that, I'm currently also doing an external PhD in my spare time together with University EIT Digital and Bright Cape. And I recently joined a new job being Mats's mom. He's now a half-year-old, so I'm evaluating the process so far in that as well. What I'm focusing on now is complex human-machine collaborations in Industry 4.0. So basically UX in situations where machines take over and start having a mind of their own. Extremely interesting. But next to that, I like to talk a lot, which you might notice by now. And I have failed quite a lot in my career so far, but in the end, it was always worth it, which is why I love to share my story. I'm taking you guys back to 2015. I just joined Brightscape and I was asked to give a presentation in Dublin about my first 3 months at a data science company as a UXer. And the title and the extremely bright presentation was this. So you know what UX is? Cool, get the department started. Because after 3 weeks at Brightscape, Sergio, our director, came to me and said like, yeah, I like what you're doing. I see the added value. Good luck and success. It was my first job. I was only engaged in UX, I think, for two years. I knew what I was doing and what the vision could be with data science, but to set up a team was something different for me. And while exciting, also extremely scary. So I built a presentation for the lovely audience in Dublin, and I used the analogy of a roller coaster. We say it a lot, but it really is a roller coaster. And I will quickly go through it because 5 years changed so much, but a few of the highlighted items are things that are still applicable to my everyday and that are still challenges that we encounter with DDEX. So finding the right collaborations to further grow your innovation or your competence that you want to grow. Miscommunication, communicating on the wrong level, communicating too technical, communicating not technically enough, having too much workload, doing too many projects at once, growing the team, seeing the team flourish is still one of the most amazing things that you can encounter when setting up a competence. But it can also be very overwhelming. You will probably be insecure on a daily basis if you're doing enough, if you're doing well enough for the people in your team. But also another high can really be when you find the balance and when you find the recognition and trust that you were looking for in the beginning. So that was basically 5 years ago. Fast forward into this year, 5 years further on, and DDEX was born, I think, 2 years ago. And when we started off, we felt like, okay, it's a new term, it's a new methodology, let's make a dictionary entry about it. So how we saw the DDEX in the beginning was a methodology. It stands for data-driven experience, and it's we wanted it to become like an evidence-based approach to experience design. That combines the power of data and data science and all the techniques that it has with user experience research and design. But as you can see already below, it says see also experience design, UX, CX, data science. We added on cognitive systems engineering and service design later on as well, because what we really wanted to do is take a look at all of these different fields that sometimes have very similar goals, see what tools, what techniques, what methodologies they have, and start combining all the knowledge that are existing in these areas. And when you start combining them, that's where the magic happens, when you might see a new methodology in order to research the specific aspects of your interaction that you want to know, or you can find a way to gain insight into the entire customer journey or service blueprint based on data. I was not going to go into the dynamics of DDEX, so I will also really not do that. But what I want to show is how it evolved. So now we're 2 years ahead, and now DDEX is about enabling technology with human insight. So instead of starting with the human and developing technology for it, we are going to see if we can enrich the technology with all of the amazing things that we as humans can do cognitively and in function. I have a Dutch sentence in my mind which makes perfect sense, but in English it's not that catchy. Why are we doing it? Because we want to support more meaningful interactions, and we see that really amazing tools and techniques exist in all of these fields. But we are so divided as an area and as a domain that we are attempting to bring them together, and in order to do that, setting up something new. We are doing that by collaborating with a really amazing team. All of my Brightscape colleagues are really great on what they do and have very different backgrounds. So for example, in the DDEX team, we have developers, psychologists, an interaction design background, AI background, robotics, human factors. So we have a mix and match, and we look at it from different points of views and learn from each other towards becoming a new type of professional. What do we deliver to our clients? Tools and technologies in our toolkit. So basically upgraded research methodologies. We help companies with building capacity, and we do management consulting. So what I learned in setting up everything that we just mentioned, I will go through one by one. So know what you're talking about, avoid the bullshit bingo and complicated lingo. It is so easy, especially when you're knowledgeable about a certain subject or you're very passionate about the subject, to get lost in details or get lost in technical aspects of your solution. By the way, I wrote everything down so that this presentation could also be read as a standalone later on. So I'm not going to talk through everything, and you don't have to read everything or remind everything. Just know that it's there to look back later on as well. But you need to be knowledgeable in order to get an idea or an innovation or a domain started. If you don't know what you're talking about, or you haven't gathered the right amount of knowledge around you, yeah, it's better to stop. Unfortunately, I've encountered quite some consultancies that do not comply to this rule. And to be brutally honest, you can really break some really nice things at clients when you don't comply to this first rule. Know what you're talking about, know what you want to investigate, know what you want to innovate on, and also know how you want to build the competence. An example, I misinterpreted the knowledge of UX of a few of our partners quite frequently in the beginning. So I thought that they really understood what we were on about. And when I asked, like, do you know what I mean? They were like, yeah, and it's really cool. And then we had a discussion, and I had the realization, like, no, I didn't explain it properly. I cannot expect them to help me because apparently I haven't conveyed the message in a way that they can understand what I'm talking about. So having your knowledge spot on and conveying it, communication once more, very important. Why doesn't it want to go? Yes. Sharing. I do believe that the fact that the DDEX team has grown so fast was due to the fact that we, in the beginning, maybe even overshared. We had ideas. We really saw the direction that we wanted to take. We started thinking, we started brainstorming, we started sharing. I think in the beginning, we were present at a lot of meetups. We recorded videos, made seminars, everything to gather input, but also distribute our knowledge. And to be honest, we also did that both for external visibility, but also for the internal stakeholders that Brightscape has. When setting up a new competence in a company that was focusing on something else, you really had to convey the value of these new things that you wanted to insert. So in my case, why should we invest in UX when our focus is on data and we're doing very well with data? Why UX? So the key here, learning that I had here, was really share your concepts, your ideas in every phase of your work. No idea is weird enough to be shared. You will know when it's not spot on, and that's okay. Next time you see the person, you can easily say like, I'm sorry, I bored you maybe last time with the idea. We scrapped it. We're going into this direction. But really, yeah, share what you want to learn, share what you want to focus on, and also share what you would want other people to share. Collaboration. Collaborate with everyone that you need, even the ones that suck out all of the energy out of the room. Sometimes your biggest enemies can become your biggest supporters. I also really see it as a challenge to figure out why someone can be hesitant in moving with you, and sometimes can even become like a roadblock. But if you find the common ground in what you're talking about, and you find a sweet spot where you can start collaborating from, things can move a lot quicker than you anticipated in the beginning. I'm thinking if I have like a perfect spot on analogy in my mind. I don't, so I will just continue. Commit to your vision, mission, and team, and do not continue your journey without commitment from stakeholders that you are dependent upon. I believe that building a team or building a competence, when you're doing that, you're also giving a little piece of yourself. And that's fine. You should do that, because if you're setting up something, you should show what you want to stand for. You should be open to leading the first path and to innovating within the field that you want to set up. But you should also really make a commitment to your team, to their growth. If you're going to do it properly, to the goals of your clients and stakeholders. Only if you're going to help them, really help them. Don't promise and don't deliver. And the most important one is have commitment from management, because time is money. It is okay to invest your own time as well, but limit the amount that you do that in order to also protect yourself a little bit. Test and fail. I think everyone here is a UXer or active in the field, and I think everyone can relate to the faster the better. So test your ideas and prototypes. Of course, we always do that. Test them based on user research and data to ensure your perfect fit. Test with stakeholders to build understanding, I think, is something that we often overlook. Because we move towards external stakeholders or clients, but also move within your company in order to build awareness of the UX competence, or in my case, DDEX competence, and just show them what you're working on and test with them in order to get them on board. One of the example I also wrote down below, I spent an entire week being very focused on a new research methodology, only to discover that the setup that I made really did not match the technical environment that the client had. There was no way to get the data that I needed. And this blind spot really delayed the entire project. So I felt really bad about it in the end, because I also delayed a lot of my colleagues. And it brought DDEX into a negative light, because we weren't helping the project. We were kind of hindering it. But owning up to my mistakes and remaining true, explaining what I would do differently next time, explaining that we're all human, it can happen. This is what we take away from it. That ownership really brought it back. So prepare to fail and prepare to take ownership of your failure when it occurs. Iterate again and again and again and again and again and again and again. Or as one of my colleagues always says, the power is in repetition. And then he pauses for a while, repetition. And then you start talking about something else, and all of a sudden, repetition. He does have a point. Set up your work and your efforts in a way that's easy to iterate upon. Fail before you reach the point of no return. Be prepared to scrap all your work, but something that I learned the hard way, be aware of the niche that you're in. Because when we're innovating within UX, all of the peers that I was talking to were very knowledgeable of UX. Then I moved towards the clients of Brightcape, who had data science questions. And I ended up, for example, manufacturing logistics. And the knowledge of UX is, well, sub-zero. So how the level that I was conveying my message and my ideas was a complete and utter mismatch with the environment that I was in. So really be aware of the niche that you're in, also when collaborating with knowledgeable colleagues a lot. Selling confirms the needs of what you're doing, shows that the team's open for growth, shows that people want to engage with the competence that you're setting up or the propositions that you're setting up, but make sure that you have a clear story, a non-technical story as well. Yeah, just make sure you have the right people involved in this and don't do everything yourself. Love your first customer, invest extra in them, and let that first customer do the sales for you. This is something that I really learned. We had our first project with La Trappe, the lovely beer brand, and they kind of became a colleague instead of a client. They really took the stage for us, gave us every opportunity to talk about the methodology that we developed for them, and it really became a partnership instead of a client consulting relationship. And I truly believe that this project made way for the rest of the development of DDEX. Deliver, show us what you got. Communicate clear and upfront. It's okay if you fail, but just say that you failed. Adapt your language. Make sure that all the deliverables are agreed upon in the beginning. I know that some of these things are very hygienic points, and I think that every one of us have learned them so many times and encountered them very, very often. But you will forget them when you focus on helping others and setting up a team or setting up a competence. So no matter how well known they are, I just wrote down everything that I came across or that I stumbled upon or made mistakes with during this journey. Remain sane. I discovered that in our field, there are a lot of very ambitious people. We are all very driven to always deliver more. And many UXers that I know are extremely empathetic. And this also causes them to sometimes care better for others than for themselves. And when you're going into like a high pressure environment, setting up a competence or a team, you can feel this pressure weighing down on you a bit more than before. So my tips and tricks here would really be to communicate your insecurities or difficulties. Be okay with being vulnerable. It will, in my opinion, bring you further than always saying that everything's good and that everything's fantastic and everything's going perfect. Sometimes things just suck, or sometimes things just don't work out, and it's okay to be bummed out about it. However, celebrate the successes when you encounter them, however small they might be. Compliment yourself and compliment the team when they earned it. And really try to maintain a healthy work-life balance, especially when you're going into a team lead role. You are the example of all of your team members. So if people see you working late and they see you emailing at 2 a.m. to your team or to clients, they will feel that they also need to comply to this behavior. So set up a healthy work-life environment as well in order to deal with the roller coaster that you will encounter when shaping and developing a team. And grow and redo. Success will really change your mission. When we started off with DDEX, it was called the DDUX, Data-Driven UX. And then we discovered, yeah, but it's not all about the user experience. We're also going into a less tangible interaction, so it might not fit the bill, and that's how it became DDEX. And be prepared to shape, reshape, and come back to everything that you believe in multiple times. And I think that the biggest lesson here for me, and it's quite recent, is that sometimes letting go of responsibility can allow others or your work to flourish. So I decided to take a step back from management before my maternity leave. And in making sure that a colleague of mine, Lindsay, could take over my job, I had to really clean up everything that I have been doing for the past years. But also in putting her in that position, it opened up space for me to really go back to what I enjoyed the most in the beginning and maybe kind of lost touch with, which was innovating in the field of UX with data. So back to the methodologies, back to the domain. So basically that's it for me. Let's end with a conclusion. This is what I want you to remember. Communicate, communicate, communicate. Whatever innovation you do, be true to yourself. Stand still sometimes and look at what you're growing, what you're learning, and how far you've gotten, because it really is amazing. And even though it can feel like a roller coaster, I think we by now we're moving towards that direction. Yeah, enjoy the ups and the downs, and also allow yourself to to stand still every once in a while. I think in a year or something, I will be able to tell you guys if we really hit the next stop in the roller coaster. But for now, let's just assume that it will keep going up. So that's me signing out. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. A lot of wisdom to take in. Thank you for that. All right, so well, we have a lot of questions. I've got them all here. So if the speakers will unmute themselves, because I'm going to go through all of you, and maybe we can have some different views on the questions I'm going to ask. But let's start with Marleen from ASML. So the question is from Dan, and I think it's about the ASML customers don't have much choice in what they're buying. Is that true, or is it sometimes really only ASML the only option to buy as a customer?
That's a good question. So for our scanner business, that's for a large part true. We don't have a lot of competitors there. We do have, but of course we're awesome. So, but for the business line applications, we're in the software field and we're in the field of analysis and diagnostics. We're definitely not the only ones doing this.
And do you see there's a big difference then in the budget you're getting, or the investments that have to be made or being set apart from ASML, depending on the choice that customers have? Is that something that's...
No, so I don't see. So what I like about ASML is that if they believe in something, they start investing.
Yeah.
I actually don't even know exactly how it's divided, but it seems to be very fair. So it's not that, so we don't need to prove ourselves. It's basically, this is a field we find that interesting. We don't only find it interesting because others are in that field, but we find it interesting because it's allowing us to become holistic in our offering. So it helps our scanner business. So we do get sufficient funding for this, but what I struggle with more is the fact that, on the one hand, we have those people coming from the hardware business. So that's one thing already. They need to start managing a software business, which is different. And they are used to being the winners, basically being the one of the few. So it's they have to do two culture shifts or two shifts in mindsets. There where I came from a company where we had lots of competitors, so you could see that it's a completely different way of approaching your products. And I can see now slowly people are really seeing that. Customers are also explicitly telling us, like, guys, we believe in you, but know that you're not the only one. So you're different. So in your scanner business, we treat you in a different way than in your software business.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, great. Thank you. Then a question for you, Lodo. Two persons asked more or less the same question, Hans and Jordi. So the levels you presented, are they based on an existing maturity model? I heard Marleen talking about Norman Nielsen. There's of course Juri Vetschov that has something. Is your model connected or related to some other model out there?
Yes, I based my model by tweaking the wording and of course off of the Kreitzberg model. The article that I really was inspired by was, I think on the website, I can link in the chat later, Making Time, and it just really labeled out this kind of pyramid concept of these levels. And that really just resonated with me, the Kreitzberg. I don't know how you spell that. I don't want to try.
Look it up and put it in the chat. I think it's nice.
I'll put it in the chat.
Where it's coming from. So, but in general, if you talk about there are different of those pyramids or phases or things out there. Is it important that there are different things, or is it better to stick to one, or should we have a common language in UX maturity? How do you see that?
I think you should go for the model that fits your company, of course. You don't want to, or I like to see it as a bazaar where everyone kind of can take what they need from it instead of a Catholic church where everyone has to believe in one thing. It's not gonna work. What works for you is definitely gonna be different than what works for me.
All right, but then the question I have, of course, is how do you decide what is working? Because you're not there yet. You're not on top of the pyramid, so you cannot really see back from the future of what.
I think of course, yeah. How do you know what's working for you? And that's kind of, I think, what the other speaker says: iterate, and find out what actually works and what doesn't, and then measure that and follow the good thing.
Let's ask Marleen now, because you looked into the Norman Nielsen maturity model. Was there a specific reason that you took that model to base your growth on, or did you give that some thought?
It's a while ago. I looked into a few of those models, and this one seemed logical to me. But I can't really say anymore why I disregarded the others. I actually think I didn't disregard the others. Okay. So, what I liked about it, at least, is that it's looking into the maturity levels on both on how people are behaving and on how the organization is behaving and where you reside in the organization. So I liked that link.
Okay. Do you think it's important that you have to have a good view of the different models that are out there, or if indeed there's one that fits, that you understand, you can work with it?
I think in general they all have a similar way of going. So it all starts with nobody in the company believes in it. Please go away or be very patient. Up until there's a kind of a basis which you need to set, and then when you have that basis set, then you can go to the more strategic parts and really enter more the company levels. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think it's important to at least know that. I also think that's important to understand how other companies are doing it.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of what you said in your presentation: hire people that are better than you, and I think that's one way they bring in new methodologies in that you can then iterate on as well. So
nice.
Yeah, well, that helps a lot, of course. But I still think so this team that I'm hiring is actually even evolving through time and evolving through the maturity that we have. So you need different people in the beginning than you would need when you're later on, or at least you need to add on to that.
Okay, let's go to the next question for Serena, and it's a bit about terminology definitions. So DDEX versus computational design.
Mm-hmm. Well, first, a check from my side. Computational design, we mean like designing with the aid of computational powers of computer, right? So scripting certain elements and based on that, having a design.
Yeah, so something from building something from data probably, but then computed. So I think it's design is a creative process, and you use data to get to that creative thing, or you want to evaluate it, or are you going to let a computer make a design? What is the? Yeah.
The DDEX right now is mostly focusing on why, so using different data inputs and different data sources to figuring out what is happening with our users and why it is happening. So if we combine this quantitative and qualitative insights, we know where we need to put extra design effort in order to improve the experience overall. So when you define it that way, I see computational design as the next step. So with DDEX, we have then discovered what we would want to improve and how, and computational design could then be like the next add-on, ensuring that we really do deliver that experience.
Yeah, okay, that clears things up. I'll stick with you, and I have a question for all of you about team members, recruiting, and persons you need. So the question for you is, you already told that you have domains are really important, that you need knowledge of different domains. You mentioned robotics, psychology, a few others. So how do you do you recruit people with these specific backgrounds, or how does it work? Does your company look for those different DNAs or domains, or how do you go about it?
In the beginning, we really did. It's a bit cliche, but we also said every team member joining the team is like a new piece of the puzzle, especially when we have this vision that we want to set up a new domain and it needs to have aspects of this this competence and this and this and this and this. We very quickly discovered that we were looking for a profile that didn't exist, and also a profile that in the beginning will not appear coming out of universities or other schools. So we needed to make it ourselves. So we started to determine what are interesting fields for DDEX and started hiring people with those backgrounds, but with an interest in design or an interest in AI, or depending where they came from.
Yeah, so first domains and then looking for people with those skills. And
yeah, and now we're training them up ourselves.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And Marleen, a question for you then, and the same, you also have a really complex product. Is it a threshold for people to go work in this field at ASML? Because I think it takes a while to understand what you're actually doing. Is that something that is difficult to recruit for or to find people, or how does that work?
I must say at the start it was difficult, and I actually don't really know why. But currently it's okay. I see people having interest in ASML. What I always do at when someone is applying for a vacancy, I warn them. Actually, I kind of discourage them
They had to decide a chip or something.
No, but I think you need to be a little bit of a nerd to be able to work at ASML. So it's a specific kind of person that likes technology. We've had people that were designers, but actually had to choose at university whether they would do mathematics or design. So it's kind of, you need to be a person that really likes understanding mathematics and statistics and that kind of stuff. And I warn people that it's not like a very easy environment, tool-wise, process-wise. So you need to be able to work in an environment with a Windows laptop, with no Apple products whatsoever. you have ordinary mouse and the keyboard, and that's it. Actually, it's improving right now, but so that's a kind of what I'm doing, and most people stay. And I have had people that called me over the weekend and said, "No, I'm not further applying."
Okay, yeah. So that's good that you warned them, but otherwise they were really unhappy probably after.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And actually, people in my team still tell me like, "You warned me, you warned me, you warned me," but it's still harder than I thought.
Okay,
So, but it's kind of, we call it the 9 months rule in ASML. If you stick with us for 9 months, then probably you will stay for forever or for a long time.
9 years.
Yeah.
But at least your communication is working, and that's important, as Serena told us, that communication is key.
Definitely. Great. I totally agree with Serena.
And then another question about another role is not a designer, but the VP of UX. What is that profile has to be? It's a question from Katrien.
The VP of UX.
Yeah, so you're saying that you need an executive somewhere in the company to help you out with your roadmap or your UX competence. So what kind of?
So indeed we executive support, or at least someone who owns the budget and can steer strategy.
Kind of is that somebody with a design background, or is it really someone
no.
who is...
No, it would be great, of course, because then I wouldn't have needed all that communication skills. But no, this is just this is a person who's coming from the semiconductor field, and he's the VP of our business line. And he needs to understand, or at least of the kind of the Dutch part of the business line. And as long as a person like him does not support you, you can get so far, but you will never get to I think it's the level 5 of Lodo. You can never get to the point where you can really get your processes running, get products or projects really running according to your way of working, because it's not supported. And I can really see, and maybe that also differs per company. I know within the part within Philips where I worked, the VP was not less influential, but it was like people really had a mind of their own. In ASML, they also have a mind of their own, but when the VP says this is really important, they will do whatever they can in order to support that. So for me, in this case, this really helped.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that sometimes this whole process of UX maturity is dependent on one person, really, that takes it further. I like to take this to a question for Lodo, because there's also a question from Bob about the amount of designers in an organization. Does it correlate with the UX maturity? So if you have 20 designers in ASML, is that right, more or less?
Yeah,
so
about.
If you would have 1,000 or something, would that automatically put you on a different level? How do you see that, Lodo? Is the question for you.
I for sure, I think if you had like 100 designers, it wouldn't matter if you didn't have what Marleen was saying, with having someone at the top of the pyramid helping you level up. So just like you can have hundreds of developers and you can still have a product that's not functional, you can have 1,000 designers in a product that doesn't work or resonate with users also. So I think it's all about what is trickling down from up on top. What's the leadership? What's the ownership? Where is that going? Because if you can have a very mature process with just 2 designers, 1 manager and 1 UX designer.
What are your strategies if you have a design team with some time on their hands to convince leadership that it's important and that they should put more budget or more importance or more value to design? What can you do?
Yeah, bring them into the process, bring them into a usability test, show them like these are the users that you are creating products for, and this is what they're saying. Because nothing is more valuable than hearing from the horse's mouth that the product is shit, or this doesn't work, or we want it this way. Nothing's more believable than hearing it firsthand, I think. So, yeah.
All right, great, thank you. It's 20:30, so we're at the end of the session. I like to close it up. We still have a lot of questions that are unanswered. I'd like to ask the presenters to go through them, and probably the organizers of this meetup can connect you and get the answers across. I think that's nice to do. Unfortunately, there's no drinks or anything afterwards to get to know each other, but we asked in the Eventbrite form if you would like to share your data and to get in contact with other people. In the beginning, we also had the chat, so feel free to contact people and we can help out with linking you together. So let us know what you want and what you need, and then we can try to set it up. But for now, I'd like to say thanks to all the speakers, Marleen, Lodo, Serena, and the organization. Thanks all for joining. I thought it was really interesting. I hope you did as well. So yeah, we get thank you messages in the poll. Maybe we can unmute everybody to give a hand for the presenters. Yeah, maybe somebody can do that, and then.
Thank you, Lizzie.
I don't know already unmuting for everyone.
Our evening.
Thanks a lot.
See you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Matthijs, for facilitating the session throughout these 1.5 hours. And thanks all speakers for being here. And the attendees, because otherwise we wouldn't have a meetup. So thank you so much for joining on this late time.